Good evening. We're going to be doing a couple problems from lesson 27 in Math UC. So here we go, number 10 and 11. This is x squared minus 13x plus 40 equals 0. How do we solve for x when we have an x squared? Well, first, that x squared, the power of 2 means that we need to have two solutions. So in order to do that, we're going to factor this. If there was anything over here, I'd need to move it over. I always want it to be equals 0. It is already equaling 0, so now I'm going to take this side and I'm going to factor it. So I know that I have two factors. There's no coefficient in front of the x, so I have x that starts both of it. This is a plus, which means that my two numbers are going to be multiplied and give me a positive number. But this here is a minus, so they're going to add up to be a negative number. Well, the only way we can multiply and get a positive and add and get a negative is if they are both negative numbers. Okay, so then we just have to figure out what two negative numbers multiply together to get 40 and add up to get 13. Well, we have 10 and 4. Oh, that's a little small. 10 and 4. But that's going to be 14, so that's not it. We have 5 and 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. So that's what we want here. Since they're both negative, it doesn't matter where we put either one. Okay, so we have factored this, and we still have that it's equal to 0. Remember, the reason we factor it is because when we have multiplication equaling 0, we know that one of these factors has to be 0. And in the case of when we factor like this, we just always set each factor equal to 0. So x minus 8 could equal 0, or x minus 5 could equal 0. Here we solve by adding 8 to both sides. That cancels, and we have x is equal to 8. Or we would add 5 over here, cancel this, and we would say x is equal to 5. So these are our two solutions. Either x is 8 or x is 5. Either one of these will give us this equation correctly. So we check it by plugging in. So x squared minus 13x plus 40, is that equal to 0? So 8 squared is 64, and 13 times 8 is 104 plus 40. Is that equal to 0? So 104 is negative, so 64 plus 40. So I'm going to do these positive ones. 64 and 40 is 104. And then subtract this 104. And yes, that equals 0. So that one works. And then we have 5. So x squared minus 13x plus 40, is that equal to 0? 5 squared is 25. 13 times 5 is 65 plus 40, is that equal to 0? Again, I'm going to add the positive one, so 25 and 40 is a positive 65 minus this 65, and that is equal to 0. So both of those work. All right, here's another example from worksheet 27C, number 5. X squared plus 3x plus 4 equals 14. So the very first thing that we have to do is make it equal 0. So we're going to subtract 14 on both sides. Okay, now this will be 0, and we will have x squared plus 3x minus 10. That's equal to 0. Okay, so now we have to factor. There's no coefficient in front of the x, which makes it a little easier. So we have an x here and an x here. This is minus, so we know that one is plus and one is minus. So now when we look at the factors of 10, we want to subtract them to get the number 3. So 10 and 1 would subtract and get us 9. The other choice is 5 and 2, and 5 and 2 subtract to get us 3. So we know that it's 5 and 2. Where do we put the 5? Where do we put the 2? Well, it's a positive 3, so we want the bigger number to be positive, and 2. And this is equal to 0. So now we set each factor equal to 0. And when we move this over, we're going to get x is equal to -5 or x is equal to 2. And I'll let you guys check it on your own. Last one is one that might seem really difficult. How do we add and subtract these fractions when they have different numbers in their denominator? Well, we have to get a common denominator. A couple ways we can do that, but I think we can just move these to the top. So 2, and combine these x's together. There's an x squared and there's an x to the -1. So if these are multiplied together, we're going to add the exponents. 2 minus 1 is 1, so just x to the first power, and then the y, and then I'm going to move this one to the top, so it would be y to the -3. And then yes, I can combine this, but I'm going to wait just a second, and I'm going to work on this one. X to the 0 is just 1, so we don't even really have to think about that. We want to move this to the top, so we're going to have 3x to the -2, y to the third. And then on this one, we're going to move this x up, so it will be a positive x, so 5 positive x, y to the -2. And we still want to see what it equals. Okay, so here we're going to combine these y's that we didn't do before. So 2x, y to the +1, and -3 is going to be y to the -2. Okay, if we can just imagine that this kind of comes in this spot, I'm going to cross this out. We're going to move this part up here. Okay, because these are already finished. Let's look and see if our variables match any of these. So x +1 and y -2. It doesn't match this one, but it matches here. So this is the same variable. It's the same thing as saying like 2a plus 5a. The variable part is the same, the a or the x, y to the -2. So we can add these together. If I had 2a and 5a, I would say that that was 7a. So here I have a 2xy -2, 5xy -2. So we're going to add those two together and have 7xy -2 minus 3x to the -2 y cubed. These variables do not match, so we cannot add or subtract any further. So this would be our final answer. Okay, hopefully you have been able to do this homework and not have any questions, but if you ever do have a lot of questions, please send me an email and I will help the best that I can. Hope you guys are having a good week.